Good day, Naked Vocalist. Chris Johnson here.
Hello, Steve Giles.
And we are back again with something very special, Steve.
That's correct. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we have an extra special interview with Sir David Stroud.
Is he a sir?
Yes.
The Queen doesn't know it yet, but he's going to be on the list, isn't he?
Well, if he's not already, let's give him 5 years. Let's give her 5 years.
He'll be there
to make her mind up, and then we can move on. Right, but first up, if we can move on from that, we just want to have a little chat about what's going on in our world at the moment, because loads of things have been going on. What have you got, Christopher?
Well, firstly, I'd like to offer to the table this little piece of news. We've been kindly given a promotional offer with Paris Music. They are actually a backing track company that Steve and I have been using for, 7 years, 8 years. And they are a professional backing track producer, and we've used them with our professional bands all through our career purely because their backing tracks sound epic.
Epic, yeah, I can back that up, yeah.
They are they're on the more expensive side than some of the other companies, but that's because they sound brilliant.
It's expected, yeah. I mean, you hear the textbook backing track of old times.
The MIDI melee.
The horns are the best, I think, in those.
Do you know, what gets me sometimes is the backing vocal volume. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. It really sticks out.
Just totally inappropriate. Well, these ones, the reason why we stuck with them for so long and still are to this day, they're live instruments.
Yeah.
Recorded really well, and the backing vocals are hidden in as they should be
in the mix.
That's right, yeah,
appropriately. And their tracks are cool. You can go on and mix your track with all the separate parts, like everyone seems to be doing these days. So go on and check them out anyway. And if you decide to go ahead with getting some of those tracks, you can get to that website, by the way, if you just go straight to the nakedvocalist.com/backing tracks. That will take you straight to Paris Music's website. And peruse, add to your checkout. And at the checkout, if you enter the code NAKED30, NAKED30, then you'll receive a 30% discount just for being a listener of our show.
Make sure you get on the Paris website before you put in Naked 30. You don't want to be slapping that in Google.
Well, I don't know.
Or maybe you do.
I'll give it a shot. We'll post the results on the Facebook page. But just so you know, we have no financial gain out of this. This is purely because we wanted to benefit you guys on some level. And no doubt more of these kind of things will turn up. So please get yourself to our website, thenakedvocalist.com, and get on the mailing list, because we'll no doubt send more stuff like this out to our subscribers.
That's right, good stuff. We're not just going to be accepting,
tosh, as my dad would say.
Bless your dad.
Oh, bless him. Don't give me that tosh.
Right, this episode clearly is about an interview of a great man.
Yep.
But we already have the wheels in motion for future episodes. We're organised and prepared. With that in mind, we've got 1 million questions to answer. That's excessive. We've got a lot of questions to answer.
But we will do all 1 million.
We will get to them at some point. But in addition to that, we've also lined up some episodes that are going to feature what we like to call the hardcore subjects. They're going to be speciality episodes where we cover a topic for the whole episode, which we think will be really valuable to you guys. But then in addition to that as well, we've also lined up some case studies of actual singers that we're going to be working with that have called in, emailed us, and we've contacted. This is really exciting for us, isn't it?
Yeah, because then we get to see, or you guys get to see, and so do we, someone's journey on a particular song after applying a bit of technique for a couple of weeks. And it's not going to be really in-depth or really crazy stuff. It's going to be kind of the basics, but the basics do generate, obviously, great results. And so that's what we want to maybe draw from those videos, you think?
Absolutely. I think that's a good point you just made there about the basics. A lot of the time, I think with anything in life, the basics is normally brushed under the carpet.
They're missed out.
Yeah, it's not sexy, is it?
It's not rock and roll.
No, but yeah, it works. The stuff we stuck on YouTube on our TV channel. Those kind of things, they may look simple, but it's actually the same thing. It all works, doesn't it?
Yeah, and so please do keep sending stuff in, because we love working with you guys.
Okay, so moving on to today.
We have Dave Stroud's interview.
What does it include, Chris?
Well, it includes a lot of stuff. On the most part, inspirational words, but those words kind of surround initially the subjects of entrepreneurialism. I've practiced that word. Oh, so glad I got it right.
Just if you're listening to this right now, would you give you a few seconds to have a go at saying that word?
Entrepreneurialism. Here's a space for you. Good. Well done.
Yeah.
Well
if you
done.
need to go back, just skip back, have another go.
Try it again.
Yeah.
But he does talk about that area of being a singer and a voice coach, because, to be successful out there, some level of entrepreneurship has to be applied.
Wow.
So that'll be really interesting for your teachers and pro singers out there. But he also talks about a few other things, doesn't he?
Yeah, one of those things is how to succeed in today's music industry. And Dave he's the man to speak to about this, because he's been there, done it, knows it. And it's really fascinating to see what really goes on.
Yeah, absolutely. And his client list is very wide and very well known, and so he does also go into his experiences with what those type of singers, your touring recording artists, would need him for.
Yeah, and I think that's worth pointing out there, that people can have a client list, and it's like, oh, well done, you've got an extensive client list. But what does that mean for us? It means that he's got the experience working with those guys, and he's got a lot to say about it. So this is why it's really good and really valuable information.
Yeah, so please enjoy it. Here it comes.
Hi, Dave. How are you?
Hello. How's it going, guys?
Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you great.
Good stuff. So how are you?
I am excellent. Doing excellently.
Excellently for what time in the morning, Dave?
6:30-ish. It's always the perfect time of day. This is my favorite time of day.
Especially for a grilling.
Totally. Like, if I'm going to be, interrogated, 6:30 is the perfect time.
The best time. Lovely stuff.
This is the time the IRS or the INS or the CIA always grill me.
Weekly on public affairs, I should imagine.
Yes, exactly.
So perfect. We got you at the right time. So we kind of want to start off just by finding out a little bit more about you. In your own words, who is Dave Stroud?
Guy that's up at 6:30 every morning.
And can't wait for a grilling.
Yeah, exactly. Gosh, I don't know. I guess I feel like I'm on Match.com, and I'm filling out my profile here.
Yeah, and we're gonna start matching you up with some people, and we won't be nice.
Yeah, I like walks on the beach, movies, and dinners, romantic dinners. Who doesn't?
That's beautiful.
Exactly. I don't know. Let's see. I guess I'm part voice teacher, part entrepreneur, part enthusiast, life enthusiast. I like trying new things. I like being wrong. I like figuring out why I'm wrong, and I think my enthusiasm for life mostly comes from my one-on-one work teaching. I love teaching. I love one-on-one teaching. I mean, all the other stuff that we do and get involved with is fun, and it maybe even enhances the one-on-one. You come back to teaching just basic and pure with somebody, and there's no politics and there's no layers to things, and that's just an incredible experience. And I think being involved in a bunch of other things that I do helps make that more enjoyable, even almost more pure, because you can come back to that and realize the uncluttered ability that you can have to just connect with somebody.
Amazing. And what are those other things that you do, Dave?
So, as you guys know, Vocalize You is a company that I started in 2010. The VIP teacher, the Vocalize You teacher network, and the VIP technique, and all those sort of things fall under that same tent. But Vocalize You as an overall brand is an events company. It's a software company. It's an education company. It's a teacher mentor program. Vocalize You and VIP builds relationships with institutions, and we have a really strong relationship with Disney, and we have a strong relationship with a handful of schools throughout the world, some in Japan, and as you know, some in the UK and some in the US here. And as part of our goal is to continue to sort of build relationships with institutions, education institutions, businesses, school systems, all that sort of thing that allows us to channel and funnel education to them, at the same time being a portal for Hollywood, LA level expertise when it comes to marketing, developing music, developing voice teachers, all that sort of stuff. We happen to have here access to people who can do incredible things for singers and artists. But on the educational point, I think that, for example, you guys have something to offer that is unique, and no one in the world has got the perspective that you two have. And I think the idea is to be able to connect all this knowledge so that we're all benefiting from each other's experiences and unique perspectives and angles. You two being from the south of the UK and having taught the type of singers you are and having the background in fitness, and all that sort of stuff rolls up into a type of perspective and an angle that is unique. And there will be pieces of information and pieces of knowledge and ways of explaining and seeing things just because you are who you are that's going to be different than anyone else. The key is trying to make all these angles and perspectives connect and network together so that we can all benefit from what you know, at the same time offer up what we've experienced. And that makes it the best possible network for a singer who becomes part of our ecosystem. Now they have a network of massive knowledge through individuals who are willing to stay connected into something like that.
Just feeds round and round, doesn't it?
And that's one of the things that we've spoken about it before, haven't we? But one of the things that I love and we love so much about the vision of Vocalize You and VIP is that it is that openness, and there is no challenging of teachers, or there's one vision, and that is solely to help the student at the end of the day, isn't it? That's the vision.
Student-centered learning means that we connect with the students on the level that they're at and try and help them with their goals. And there's a difference between what's important to them and what's important for them. And there's a balance that you have to strike, because you know something's good for them that they don't know that they need. But there's something important to them that you need to connect, because whatever's important to them is the pathway to help them with what's important for them.
Right. Yeah.
If you just try and shove down somebody's throat what's important for them without ever acknowledging what's important to them, you're going to hit a wall. And you may find out that what's important to them is not who you are, and then it's your ethical obligation to make sure that they find somebody that can provide that for them, and then they will be open to what's important for them.
Right. Great way of putting it. Great words. So,
wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big vision, and we will talk a bit more about that later on when we discuss how people can kind of get hold of you and follow you a little bit. But just so people have an idea of the sort of the private clients that you deal with, not meaning to name drop, of course, but what kind of people do you work with over there in LA?
This Chris Johnson, Steve Giles.
Obviously, top of the pile.
Right. I start at the top of the pile. I don't know if we should use the word pile, but anyway.
Sounds a bit rough.
I'm happy to be the top of it, though. So
yeah, top of anything if it is a pile.
Yeah, my clients. I've been incredibly lucky, and I don't know what the other words would be, but I feel incredibly
blessed,
grateful and blessed, and tons of gratitude for the singers that I get to work with that come to me, and the interaction that I get to have with people like CeeLo or Natasha Bedingfield and Daniel Bedingfield. I mean, look, those two are, Daniel and Natasha are two of the most amazing, special people that I work with. And then all the names and all the people and all the stuff that I work with, I'm just going to go off on a rant here for a second.
You go for it.
Yeah.
Daniel is so good. Daniel is such an amazing singer. Beyond the comprehension of most singers, he's just heads and shoulders of just above and beyond how good that guy is. And it's just a pleasure for me to work with him. I mean, I sit there sometimes going, this guy, I mean, I'm happy that I can help him because I have a different angle and I have something to offer him that is different. But I sit there and watch him, and I've been to a few performances and things, and I just sit there and shake my head going, nobody feels music and sings like this guy.
Isn't that a great feeling as well?
He's so good. And so is Natasha. Natasha is just, her phrasing and her feel and stuff is just amazing. But I guess I'm going off on the Daniel thing so much because, I've seen him 2 or 3 times recently doing some shows around LA here, and each time I just go, just as I think I get my head wrapped around how good he is, he does something else, and I go, God, that guy's good.
Awesome.
And his timing and his understanding of music and his range and his colors. And anyway.
Yeah, so you feed a lot of those clients in terms of the pleasure they give you once they perform.
Oh, absolutely. Man, it's amazing. It's amazing.
I bet.
And I just stand back and I go, how did I get so lucky to be able to be part of this,
And you get to go to a lot of gigs for free as well, which is nice.
Yeah, that's true.
They're perks.
If anybody knows me and knows that I'm up at 5:30 every day, they know that a gig that lasts past 10 o'clock, I'm like, I'm out.
Bed is way more important at this age. Not saying you're old, of course.
I beg to differ, actually. The last time I was in LA, just to point out, didn't that Daniel Bedingfield gig go on longer than past midnight? I'm sure it did. So that's a lie.
I wasn't there at the end. Yes, I think my guess is that night you guys were there, that thing went on until 2 a.m.
Ouch.
Yeah. He knows how to party, Daniel, doesn't he? For sure.
Yes, I believe so.
I believe so.
That was a no comment. Okay, we should probably move on there, shouldn't we? Just to save any trouble.
Just to wrap that up, I am just incredibly grateful. Daily, I wake up and I make sure I acknowledge the gratitude I have for the place I am in life. And I am, it's amazing the different voices that I've been able to work with and spend time in the same room, giving them what I know, but listening to them. I work with Ben Folds quite a bit, and spending time with him, not just on voice, but talking about music. That guy is, when it comes to knowledge of music, and he's doing a whole symphony tour right now, and just, how many people get to sit down and just pontificate on, music and history of music and stuff with some of these great people. So anyway, sort of wrapping that thing up there, I just am really grateful. I'm lucky.
Awesome.
That's all there is to it.
You can see that that's exactly what you portray and what you live for. It's beautiful, yeah.
It is a beautiful thing. So what we've got some questions for you from people who are connected to our Facebook page or have emailed us, and so we would like to get cracking with those. And we've got an initial question from Ella, and she says, "What does an average day in the life of Dave Stroud look like?"
An average day.
That might be a tough one, because no day is average, I'm guessing, in your world.
Yeah, average day is so mixed up, and this is true. But, I do have a routine. The truth is I am a routine kind of person. So you can count on the time of day. You're looking at your watch, your phone, or whatever, and look at the time. You pretty much know where I am based on the time. So here's my day. It's boring as hell. I'm up 5:30 every day. The first, hour to 2 hours is having some coffee, going over emails, planning my day. I'm a list guy, so I list everything out that I need to do, things that I missed the day before, add to the list, take care of a really concise focus for the day. And then I work out. I go work out for 30 to 60 minutes. I do a lot of, my favorites are just really high intense interval type training, so I'm breathing heavy, freaking out, dying for breath, but it just makes my brain happy for one thing.
Yeah.
And secondly, when I come back to my list, I'm really clear about the steps to get things done. And so I usually finish my workout by 9-ish, and that gives me time to come here, take care of my dogs, focus in on a couple things, personal things or whatever needs to be done. Then I'm at the studio by 10:30. And then I usually teach one-on-one until about 7. And then, again, I end my day with my dogs, feeding my dogs, taking care of them, and then winding down. But the winding down process is also a refocus of events of the day, what was taken care of, what wasn't. My focus through the day is my 11 to 7. So that, or 10:30 to 7, that 8.5 hours that's where I teach one-on-one mostly. I get a lot of, my world is full of documents, legal documents and spreadsheets and all sorts of stuff like that. And so while I'm on top, I teach one-on-one. That's just why I say earlier, it's so nice to go back to the purity of teaching one-on-one, because it's not cluttered. It's just in the moment.
Yeah.
And the rest of my life is reading documents and following up on things that I'm 3 weeks behind on.
Just inevitable when you get to your level.
Well, yes, I was going to say that, Dave. I was going to ask, actually, because I think it'd be really valuable for, I think most singing teachers and or anybody really that's working towards their own business and trying to make a success. How do you organise life? You've got 6 hours, 5-6 hours from when you wake up to when you start your working day, which is something in itself. So how do you find that you can really make sense of all that and make sure things get done with especially with your timetable and everything that you'd have to get sorted by the end of the day or the end of the week? Well,
there's probably 2 or 3 parts. One is there's a lot of great tools for project management, and I use different tools for that. That is very helpful. There's online project management tools, and those things are incredibly important. And 10 years ago, those weren't around. It was much harder. So that's one thing I do. The second thing I do is I'm really keen on surrounding myself with people who want to live on that same level. Mm-hmm. So everyone that's in part of our team or it's involved in our day-to-day stuff also lives on that level. And when you think you're the one carrying all the weight, and you look around and you realize that you've got 5 other people also feeling like they're carrying all the weight, 5 plus 5, 1 plus 4 equals 10. It's not, it is so much more exponential than just plus. That's key. At the same time, just having a clear, doing things for me that really clear my head, like the working out, is really important to me, because I need to have that massive amount of oxygen flowing through my head and my body so that I am focused and effective and not cluttered with things. At the same time, this is really important, systems and keeping things organized is a creativity killer. So the more routine and organized you are, the less likely you are to be creative.
Right.
Chaos equals creativity. Yet the more chaotic you are, the less likely you are to execute what you envision. You have to strike a balance between these routines throughout the day to get things done and the ability to have chaos in your life, so new ideas and new ways to solve problems penetrate through. And so the truth is that there has to be some chaos for you to see things in a different way.
Yeah.
And seeing things in a different way, everything about life is how you see it. The difference between someone who's successful and someone who's not is probably just the way they're thinking, strictly the way they think. So how do you think differently? How do you think outside the box? Well, that happens in chaos. That happens in moments of things not happening as you planned and being able to roll with that, and then you go, there's my answer. The minute you get locked in, it has to be, oh my God, I set it to be this way and it's not, then creativity's gone.
And so, you just start to freak out, I expect.
Exactly. Yeah, you can't find solutions. And I know you guys are fitness, not just guys, but fitness gods. So I know that you guys experience the same thing when you are in the middle of a workout where you're just on the mat, sweating, dying, wondering how you're going to get through the next 25 minutes of this. And yet your brain goes into a different place and you see things differently. And that is really important. The other thing I think is reading. I love to read different, I don't read fiction much, but I like to read different bios or, books on different things. And one of my favorites is Richard Branson. So, I like the way he runs his companies. I like the way he thinks differently. He thinks out of the box. The old empirical way of running a company top down and I have all the answers and don't be insubordinate and all that BS. You can't run a company that thrives on creativity if that's the way you run your company. And Vocalize You is all about creativity. That's what we are. We are about creativity, inspiring creativity, helping people find their own creative flow. If we ran our company like traditional, telephone company or something like that, we would shut down everybody inside. Most of those companies don't want creative people because that goes back to the chaos. It creates chaos. So they want you to fall in line exactly. Here's your job title. Here's what you're obligated to do. Here's what you're authorized to do. Do nothing more. Don't make decisions. Don't make choices. If somebody's on the phone complaining, here's your script. So I think that we live in a world that's completely opposite, and Richard Branson's one of those people who, if you look at his companies, they're innovative. They're on the edge all the time of new things, and it's because he thinks that way. He knows he doesn't have all the answers. If you read his books, he credits lots of people around him that are on his board and his team for these innovative ideas, and that's because he's willing to let them have ideas, and he's willing to be wrong.
I know you passed one of his on to me. Screw Business as Usual is one of the good ones, isn't it? Yeah, just for anybody that wants to have a read. That's a good start, isn't it? That book. Yeah,
it's great. It's a great book, and so one of the other things is to always be able to say I'm wrong or I don't know. Those two things are incredibly liberating. You can't be right all the time, and I think with VIP instructors, especially trying to help them understand that you don't have to be right. You do not have to be right. The most empowering thing you can say to a student is, I don't know. I don't know. Hey, my voice is doing X, Y, Z. What do I do? I don't know. That's a good question. I don't really know the answer to that, but I'll help discover it. Let's go figure it out together.
Yeah. Or VIP is a network where you can ask someone as well.
Totally.
Yeah.
And somebody else in the network all of a sudden goes, listen, I dealt with that last year with a student. Here's what I did and it worked. And everybody else goes, wow, how that's amazing. It doesn't mean all of a sudden that person is in a hierarchy above and they know more than you and they're a level above you. It just means that person is living on the same playing field as you and they have a different perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. And it really does feel good to be able to do that and see that forum kind of happening online each week with different questions, which you can chip in and present.
So these teachers are it's okay to be wrong. Man, it is better to be wrong than right every time, because I guarantee if you're right every time, you're wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. You're in denial, probably.
Yep.
Yeah.
I can't help but think this podcast is going to turn into one massive advert for VIP, and it's not supposed to be that way, but you can't help it when it's so good.
And I'm not at all trying to turn it into that. I just it's a philosophy. So
absolutely, yeah. Speak the truth.
Speak the truth. So we have a technical question coming up next, which is regarding. I guess technique. Do you want to take it on?
Yeah, sure. So it's coming from Sarah from Southampton, in case you know her, Dave. This is.
Do I know her?
In fact, I don't think you will. Well, we don't know her, do we?
No.
Okay. What are your best 3 bits of advice for an original singer who is looking to develop their style for today's music industry?
Well, the very number one thing, other than classical and musical theater, the number one thing a singer needs is uniqueness.
Right.
Individual approach to things, uniqueness, and that is in direct opposition to technique. So the better your technique is, often the less unique you are. So if we look at some of the examples over the years of singers that have stood out, it's because they're so individual and so unique. Within a measure or two measures of them singing, you know who that is.
Yeah.
And I think Adele is a good example. It does not take you more than a few words to go, that's Adele. And certainly you can hear a frame of reference or influence from Amy and different people, but she is herself. She is unique. And yet none of us would probably say, man, her technique is the most solid technique I've ever heard. So we have, again, life is all about balance, and chaos versus organization, technique versus individualism. And when it comes to the contemporary music, being unique wins out. But if you don't have strong technique, you can't keep doing that.
You might not last.
You might not be able to keep doing what you're doing. You might not be able to bend the rules, break the rules if your technique isn't solid. Technique is a tool so that you can screw things up. 21 was probably the best, and I'm not even going to go the commercial route here. I'm just going to say the most influential album of last year. That album touched more people and it influenced and affected more people. And I'm talking about the lyrics, what she had to say, her perspective on life. And when you listen to what she's saying, most people go, oh my God, she's saying what I want to say. She just put into words how I feel. And that's a huge, huge thing, because that's all that music is supposed to be. Music and singing is supposed to touch and connect us. And that is what she did so amazingly well, is she sang about things and she delivered them, and she did it in a way that people from country to country and continent to continent went, I'm in, I get it. She speaks for me.
Absolutely. And am I wrong in saying that album actually either contested or outsold Thriller? Wow.
No, you know whose album did that?
Who's that?
Katy Perry.
Oh, right. Really?
Katy Perry had more number ones off her last album, than Michael Jackson.
Blimey.
She had 7 number ones and Michael had 6.
Right, that's another massive achievement, right?
Yeah, wow.
Another huge achievement.
That's a testament to, there's a lady named Bonnie McKee who wrote most of that album, and Bonnie's an incredible writer. And that really is a testament to Bonnie and her writing, I think, and the productions and all that sort of stuff. And, people say, I hear all the time, like, well, yeah, but music isn't the same as it was back with Michael Jackson and all that sort of stuff. And I'm saying, yeah, you're right. Sales aren't what they used to be. Number one isn't the same number. Her having 7 number ones isn't the same gross number that Michael Jackson did at number one, because it was different then.
Yeah.
But you can't take away from the fact that there's more people in the market too. There's more points of entry and there's more competition. Absolutely. So Katie deserves the accolades.
And that's it. And it's right for the time, isn't it? That's the point. It's working for now.
So you've mentioned technique and you've mentioned uniqueness. What would you say would be your third?
The third has to go into personality. I mean, when you look at the overall tent of what it takes to be a successful artist, you've got, let's say, technique and individuality and all that sort of stuff. But then there's this whole package of how you carry yourself, how you are, that connects to the music. So there's a disconnect sometimes between people and their singing and their music. Some girl who's 15 singing about love and deep heartache and things, and you go,
not sure I believe it.
Connection. I don't know that you understand what you're singing. And I think that's the third part, is making sure everything about that personality, the way they dress, the way they carry themselves, who they are, also is a connection to the music.
Right, so it's all got to fit.
The overall brand is not fragmented.
And that combination of all that can suddenly strike a world of people like Adele.
Right. So you go look at Adele. She's singing about things that are organic and heart-wrenching, and she doesn't look like she is, pop princess, actress girl. She looks like exactly what she's singing about. It fits.
Totally.
Awesome. Hope that
great
answers
advice.
Sarah's question.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have another question here regarding your teaching from Shelley Taylor, and it says, "Hey Dave, you have worked with many successful artists, and what do you feel you have aided in their success, given that they are already established, that may be either vocally or in another way?"
Right. No, and I really appreciate the question, because I've had this contention myself over the years, is just because somebody's worked with somebody else that's famous does not necessarily mean they've offered that singer
any
something
success
in depth that made a difference. And yet maybe they did. So I just don't necessarily think there's a connection yet. We live in this world of sound bites, and so having those perceived values of the different people I've worked with and things does trigger that. And I get the question completely, and I think it's a completely legitimate question. And my answer is, each person is different. What I offer to them totally depends on why they're coming in. So a lot of the singers that I work with, they're established, doing really, really well. Why would they come in? Why does somebody like, Seal or somebody who's, very established need to come in at all? And the answer comes down to each person comes in for different reasons. And you are there for them on their level. Student-centered learning is really key for all of us. And whether we're learning to golf, or whether we're learning to fly airplanes, or whether we're learning to play tennis, or learning to sing, the instructor that we have needs to meet us on our level and understand our own personal goals and desires and fears. Because in everything that we take on, we also have trepidation and fear. So with an established artist, that is the purest form of student-centered learning. You have to meet them. You have to take the time to understand their goals, their fears, and what you can do to alleviate those fears and give them tools to be more successful. And success, under this definition, would be whatever their need is. What's your need? My need is, I'm losing my voice towards the end of the shows. I'm on the road. I've been on the road for 6 months. I'm doing 5 shows a week. I'm losing my voice after most shows. So we dial in. We dial into that. Let me see your set. Let me see the keys. Let me see what's going on. What's your lifestyle? Where are you warming up during the day? A lot of times when I go out on the road, it's not just to sit there and warm them up and then my job is done. I spend the whole day. I watch everything from when they get up in the morning to when they finish the show. They get on the bus. They go to the next hotel in the next city. They get in the hotel. They go to sleep. They get up. And I want to see that whole 24, 36, 48-hour cycle so I can understand where things are coming apart. And it's usually 1 or 2 little things that we make adjustments. Sometimes it's keys. Sometimes it's how much they're warming up. Sometimes it's their environment, where they're warming up, who's around. I mean, sometimes these shows are chaotic. A singer has got interviews. They've got industry people showing up. They're supposed to focus for 25, 30 minutes before they go on stage. And there's shit flying all over and stuff.
Yeah, I can imagine. And doing a lot of interviews all day and talking all day potentially to reporters, that could get quite tiring on the voice too.
Oh my goodness. And some of these are 5, 6 in the morning. So they go from some city to another city, and they're on the bus trying to sleep. They get to the city, and instead of going to the hotel, they go to a radio station, and they do an interview and sing a couple songs. Then they go to the hotel, get a couple more hours sleep, and then they're off to sound check. It's a really, the routine, the lifestyle is hard. The faster they can get into a routine, and the faster they can function within that routine, again, it's the chaos versus organization balance. The faster they can get into that, the more likely they are to stay healthy throughout the tour. The less creative they might feel, but the more likely they are to stay on balance and healthy.
So
again, going back to what I offer them, my job is to find out which point they need help. What's important to them and what's important for them, and just balance that out.
Yeah, I guess in terms of Shelley's question, is Shelley a teacher, does it say, or is she?
Oh, it doesn't say.
Okay. But yeah, just in terms of the question, I guess, as you say, it's so individual, but I suppose the job of the vocal coach for somebody who is, quote unquote, successful, if we whatever that means, but in terms of the commercial success, I guess what Shelley's talking about, the demands are higher, and as you say, everything there is like a cocktail for a tired voice, isn't it? So your job, I guess, is going to be a lot harder, and you're going to be required to be there a lot more. And you say it's individual, but I guess the things will change in regards to that.
Part of it is also helping. Most artists are not routine people. They do not like living in routine, and it's to help them strike that balance.
Absolutely.
So they want to feel healthy. They don't want to lose their voice, but they also don't necessarily want to climb on the bus, read for a few minutes, and go to sleep.
Sure.
The back of the bus, and it's like, get me a drink. I'm hanging with my boys.
Are you often looked at as a boring one?
My God. So I've been working on this TV show, The Sing Off.
Right.
And they have me come in, each season they have me come in and address all the contestants the very first day. And this is what I tell them every time. I'm like, the next 8 to 10 weeks of your life are going to be the most boring, straight-laced 8 to 10 weeks of your life.
Yeah.
But you're going to appreciate what I say towards the end of this. If you will listen to me and follow my guidelines, you're going to appreciate what I'm saying. But no coffee, no alcohol, lots of water, lots of sleep, exercise. It's like, oh God, this guy is a fun killer.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I thought this was supposed to be rock and roll.
Yeah, you know what? But I've certainly felt the effects of knocking that stuff out. I mean, I didn't do it all in one go for a show, of course, but over the last 10 years, each one of those things you've mentioned have crept their way into my life, like less drinking. Certainly 10 years ago, I gave up smoking, eating better, getting in bed by 10:30, but that coincides with my voice feels pretty good.
Yeah.
It really does, and it's sometimes hard to tell which one was the best.
Every time.
Yeah.
Totally.
Absolutely. Oh, that's great stuff. So,
God, we're old, boring guys.
Oh, I know. No. Wait, you're older than us, aren't you?
How old are you?
32.
Oh no, we're the same age.
It's funny, you don't look that, but anyway.
Take it away, man. We've got the next question for you, Dave, here. Okay, so, hi chaps. I am self-employed and have been building my business for a few years now. With that in mind, I would really like to know what Dave feels has been the driving force behind his success in life. Well, that's a deep one. Thank you very much and best wishes from Janet Mahon.
Mahon. I think it's Irish. Mahon.
Mahon.
Yeah.
Okay. I will tell you the number one thing for success, especially as an entrepreneur, gratitude.
Right.
Find gratitude every day. Wake up, find something you're grateful for. It doesn't matter how big or how small, but make sure it's sincere. So you need to be grateful for... I'm grateful for my dogs today. I mean, they wake me up, they lick me, they drive me crazy, and I'm grateful for that.
I wish I had that.
Don't get Chris started on dogs, Dave.
Honestly, I love dogs so much. If I could have a dog or two lick me every morning, I would be so happy.
You've seen Dave's dogs?
I've seen Dave's dogs. Yeah, I've met them. Are they pit bulls, right?
I have a pit boxer mix and I have a pit Dalmatian mix.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah. And they're just amazing, amazing dogs. They're very well trained and behaved. And I walk around LA with them pretty much off leash all the time.
And you took them on holiday?
What's that?
You took them on holiday in the camper van, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that looked like a great trip.
Yeah, they loved it. I mean, they just freaking loved it. Yeah. But gratitude. Gratitude is so important to success. Success doesn't happen. Happiness and success doesn't happen, and then you're grateful. Success and happiness happen as a result of gratitude. And there is no doubt that having the tools and the work ethic and all that sort of stuff is important, and thinking outside the box and things. But you got to start with gratitude, because if you can't find gratitude, you can't be happy. If you're not happy, it is very difficult to work for yourself and battle all of the uphill speed bumps that you're going to battle if you can't do it because you love things and you're happy. Because it becomes really, very, very quickly, it becomes not worth it. And then people quit and they give up. And you can't be resilient if you can't find happiness, and you can't find happiness if you don't find gratitude. So just start with something really, really simple. And be thankful and gracious and grateful, and start your day that way. And then the second thing is probably, diet and exercise. Those are the keys that keep you resilient. And being an entrepreneur just means nothing's easy. Okay? Being an entrepreneur means that you've chosen to work for yourself. That means instead of one boss, the whole world is your boss. Every client is your boss. And every turn is a struggle to get things to work, make things happen, have funding. Nothing is... If anybody thinks that it's just you set forth and you move forward and you set sail with your boat and everything is just perfectly on track, as an entrepreneur, it never is that way. Never. Nothing you ever plan ever works out. Nothing works out.
It just kind of gets there eventually in the way you didn't plan it, right?
Exactly. And if you
chaos.
Yeah, totally. It's chaos. And so if you can approach this with you're just grateful and happy for what you get to do in life, then you look at those challenges and you go, awesome. This is like my next workout where I'm doing, next 100 squats in a row and I'm dying and I'm going, but this is what I signed up for. This is why I'm here.
I didn't plan on puking, but let's do it.
Yeah. And on top of almost dying, I got to puke.
Punch the air moment.
And I am thankful for that.
and I'm grateful. I'm grateful for what this did to me. Totally.
Yeah, sure.
You guys have felt that, right? I mean, what it's like to, working out, like, especially what you guys do, it's a physical thing. The transformation is physical, but it's mental. It is. You learn what commitment is. Commitment happens 20 minutes after you feel like giving up. Commitment happens long after it was easy.
And that feeling you get after that 20 minutes past giving up is amazing, isn't it?
It is. And when you finish your workout and you get to go home and you go, I earned going home, it's an incredible feeling.
And do you know what, the worst time I ever felt after a sprint session, I spent so long in the gym toilets and I was sick. And then I came home and I lay on the couch for half an hour thinking I've ruined my teaching day. But once I had something to eat and some water, I'd never felt so awesome than that afternoon in my life.
Isn't it strange?
It was like endorphins, it was hormonal, it was like, because I was super healthy. And I think, diet and exercise and all that really contributes to your health. But a healthy body, I feel so much happier in a healthy body. I don't feel good if I'm eating crap and doing nothing.
So true. And people we chase the high all the time. So I also strongly believe humans crave adversity. We crave challenge and adversity and ways to overcome, so to speak. And we either do it in a healthy manner or we do it in horribly unhealthy ways. And so if you're not struggling in life in a healthy way, you're doing it in alcohol and you're doing it in drugs and you're doing it with fucked up relationships and all sorts of stuff that is not necessary. So find adversity in a workout that makes you puke and lay on the couch, and then you're going to get high as shit after that.
Yeah, and that is exactly how I would have described it if I had those words in my arsenal.
Yeah, for sure.
That is a great thing.
You get done with that thing and you conquered, you did it yourself, and that feeling of pride and self-esteem kicking in is one thing, but the endorphins and the serotonin and everything else that floods your body can, going back to the success of an entrepreneur, that's a huge part of it. A huge part of this is being resilient, being able to come back to the table and think again and look from a different angle and not give up. Don't give up. Don't give up. Don't fucking give up. And as a singer, you're going to hear no again and again and again and again before you hear yes. And you need to be resilient. And running your own business, a singer is a pure entrepreneur. It's as pure as you're going to get. And you can't quit. You cannot quit.
Blimey.
That's an amazing insight.
That is an amazing insight. So we have one final question for you, sir.
Yeah, we better. I don't know how long you've got, Dave, but we're coming up to an hour, aren't we? So.
Yeah. So we'll rattle this one out quickly. As this one's from Daniel Grimley, who is a singing teacher, and he says, what common ailments do touring singers or recording artists tend to approach you with, and how does that differ to the needs of amateur singing students? It's a great question.
Yeah, it is a good question. And it's probably a comparison to somebody who's dealing with the difference between, it's horrible. I'm going back to this sports and working out thing, but the difference between dealing with somebody that's in the middle of football season, right? And they're at the top of the game, they're playing for the team that's doing really well, and they keep having an ankle problem or whatever, and then how you're dealing with that with them is different than somebody who is just trying to learn the sport. And that's just the difference. I mean, so somebody who's on the road, who's been touring, who's got another album coming out, and, we're dealing with somebody who has been on the treadmill now for 5-6 years, and they're running hard, and there's just certain things about them that needs to be adjusted, but small things. Maybe they're getting edema after the shows. We need to figure out why they're swelling, what's happening, as opposed to somebody who's coming in. They're a hobbyist, but they're moving more towards gigging more often. The challenges that they're facing is that next threshold from singing at home or karaoke or a once-a-month gig to I'm singing 3 times a week or once a week even. I'm doing these songs. Cover songs tend to be much more difficult than original songs because A, there's a certain key that people expect you to sing in, and B, they expect it to sound like Steve Perry or whomever, and you're just never going to sound that way. And to make your voice sound that way means you have to manipulate it. So it's taking a look at all the things that they're doing and helping them adjust for whatever level they are. And it goes back to student-centered learning and living on their level, whether it's a touring artist and what they deal with as, or an amateur or a hobbyist moving into a semi-pro, and just deal with those different things. And there are differences, but they're all unique to that person. I wouldn't say that every touring artist I work with, I deal with the same issue of edema, but a lot of them do for different reasons.
Absolutely.
And I guess one of the main ones is the workload is a lot more intense.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
When the schedule increases like that, it just highlights those little adjustments that need to be made even more now.
Totally. And anybody who's, I hear this all the time, this person's an opera singer, and, opera singers have to be more developed. And certainly parts, certainly a Wagner or something like that, if you're going to be a Helden tenor or anything like that, requires years of development to get there. But there is nothing more difficult than a pop singer on the road. Man, that is a hard gig. And so...
And why? Just quickly, Dave. Why for you is that? Is that the expected sound that they're looking to achieve, or?
No, it's the life, man. It's this idea that you do a show, you climb on a bus, you sleep for a few hours, you get out of the bus, you go into a hotel, you sleep for a few more hours, you get up, you do interviews, you do a sound check, you eat a little bit, you do a show, you climb on a bus, you drive for a while, you get out of the bus, you go into the hotel. It's tough. That's a tough life. Trying to stay healthy, doing the same show night after night, having sound issues. When you're an opera singer, for example, in the same house for 3 months, 6 months, a year, however long the contract is, you're dealing with the same acoustical situation every night. You're dealing with the same people every night. You go home to an apartment. You have some semblance of a life. you have a little bit of normalcy of shopping and cleaning my house and going and doing the show. I come back. I mean, there's some normalcy there, where a pop artist on the road, on a bus, in a hotel, doing press, having, freaky fans, and dealing with all the things that they deal with, the paparazzi, who they're dating, who they're not dating.
And then potentially partying as well.
Partying. All the stuff that goes into this, man. It's tough. It is tough. And especially the young ones, I see people taking shots at Justin Bieber these days, and guys, just remember, man, he was 14 when he got famous. And for him, and understanding what normalcy for the rest of us is, he'll never, ever, ever know. And his life has been in a glass bubble for all these years, and it doesn't mean he's not a good dude. It just means that everything he says or does is out for the world to see.
Yeah, it's scrutinized, isn't it?
Totally. I would hate for the world to have a microscope on my life. Seriously.
Yeah.
And I have to hand it to anybody who chooses this profession and understands what they're getting into and can handle that. That's tough, man.
Oh, absolutely.
Wow. So, I think that wraps up the questions.
Dave, those answers were inspiring.
Yeah, really, really great.
Awesome.
Thank you.
I enjoy hanging out with you dudes.
Oh, and we hope to be hanging out with you actually in person, so maybe you could follow me around for 48 hours, tell me what's going on in my life. That would be excellent. But next summer. Oh yeah, absolutely.
But the thing is, Dave, if anybody wants to get hold of you or find out what you're doing in life, where are the cameras? No, what's your social networks and all that kind of stuff? How do people find out?
Dave Stroud Vocal Studio is my Facebook. And that's probably the best place to reach me. Dave@vocalizeyou.com is my email. But, whatever questions, I love this format you guys have created, by the way. You guys had sent me over the first episode, and I listened to the whole thing. It was freaking awesome. I loved it. And I would prefer people actually channel questions through you guys, and it is part of the show, because I think the show is awesome, and it'll drive real organic content that way, and it'll just fuel what you guys are doing. So I'm totally supportive of what you're doing, and I'm happy if people want to reach out to me via Facebook or whatever and directly. That's fine, but I really would encourage people to channel their questions through you guys, and we'll follow up this way.
Thank you, Dave. And thank you as well for being a part of this and, like I say, helping that free information get out there for people, and for people to be actually more inspired about embarking on any level of career, whether it be amateur or professional, in the music industry.
Yeah, that's it, because I think it'd be easy for somebody like you, Dave, with your success and everyone you work with, to almost cut yourself off,
be complacent
and things like that. But the fact that you're so open and you've created this network and you've brought the singing teachers together, and it's just such a great thing, an admirable thing. So thank you for that.
Well, and you guys need to know sincerely, I don't see it as me doing all these things. I just see it as all of us sort of channeling our energy together, and that's it. And if I can be somewhat of a guide for all of us to a certain level, I'm happy to do that. But there's all these other people that are part of that, like Brandon and Ryan and Lynn Hilton and John Henney and Joe Cresswell, and all these people who have taken the reins and guiding things and helping things. And on my team here in LA, Fauna and Danny Collins and all these people, and it's great that. I'm just grateful to be surrounded by such amazing talent. So. Oh,
absolutely.
But I have one complaint. I have one complaint about your show.
Well,
I feel deceived. I was like the Naked Vocalist, and then I expected a whole lot more, like pole dancing or something.
Just don't kill it for the listeners, but we are naked, aren't we?
Exactly. And I'll tell you
and so is Dave.
And what you don't know at this moment, Dave, is that at one point in the future, every guest we have on the show will be shown in naked and or just partially naked on our calendar, Christmas calendar. So
potentially or not with a fig leaf. I don't know.
Are you up for that, Dave?
Photoshop can do some amazing work.
You do not need Photoshop, Dave. You do not need Photoshop.
Only to make it smaller. And that's it. Thank you so much, Dave Stroud.
We better let you get to the gym.
Yeah, it's my time to get to the gym.
Enjoy your day, sir, and we will speak to you soon.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for the opportunity, man.
Inspirational words there from Sir David Stroud. Thank you again to David for coming on and sharing his experiences and his ridiculously vast knowledge. A minor apology for his FF, and maybe there was an S in there, wasn't there?
Bombs, yeah.
But if anything, that's going to get him the knighthood.
Well, should get
that sword on his shoulder.
The criteria for
met.
Come in.
Tick. So sorry about that, but we will mark it as explicit so everyone is aware. But that's us done. As always, get yourself along to the nakedvocalist.com, sign up with us there, and keep up to date with all of the new things that are going on and the podcast episodes.
And as always, as everyone hangs out on Twitter and Facebook, you can find us there too. TNV Questions, that's at TNV Questions for Twitter, facebook.com/TNV Questions for Facebook. And also, we are on YouTube. We've got our YouTube channel, The Naked Vocalist TV. Find us on there. We've got loads of videos going up weekly just about how to sort your voice out.
Yeah, and as always, we are searchable on iTunes, where you can subscribe and get every episode as it comes up automatically on your phone or your computer. But if you're on there, please leave us a 5-star rating. You can just click on the stars there. And if you've got time, write us a little review if you like it. That would be most helpful in our ratings on iTunes and how we rank.
It really would. And I know that a lot of people probably think somebody else would do it, or I haven't got time for this. Just those 5 minutes will just
change our world.
Change the world.
Of singing. So there we have it. Thank you very much. We will be back next time in 2 weeks for some more exciting technique.
And many, many things that will help you with your voice.
Goodbye.
Ciao.